Today is May the 1st, 2019. Yes, I know it's May Day. Welcome to the Personal Computer Show. I'm Hank Key and my colleague is Joe King. Do you know who has your personal data? Do you know how Facebook, Google, and Amazon are using your personal data? Is that product you bought from Amazon a counterfeit? You should find out. Our website is pcradioshow.org. We can be heard each Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on prn.fm, streaming on the internet as well as on various podcasting hosting sites. Podcasts of the program is available on prn.fm, on the internet, and pcradioshow.org. To listen to the live program on the telephone each Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, the number is 641-793-7091. For those who are listening to the program on demand, you can leave us a message with your question or comment to hank@pcradioshow.org. You can also reach us on the Google number 862-800-6805. That's 862-800-6805. And you start your message with the Personal Computer Show, followed by your message. News alert for Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 users. Windows Security Update caused recent antivirus conflicts and freezes. Microsoft released their April 2019 Patch Tuesday updates, and since then users have reported performance issues and freezes in Windows 7, Windows 8.1, Windows 2008, Windows 2008 Revision 2, Windows 2012, and Windows 2012 Revision 2. As reported by Microsoft in numerous support articles for April Windows updates, antivirus software installed on these versions of Windows may become unresponsive upon restart after installing the recent April updates. An attacker who successfully exploited this vulnerability could run arbitrary code. An attacker could then install programs, view, change, or delete data, or create new accounts with full user rights. To exploit this vulnerability, an attacker would first have to log on to the system. An attacker could then run a specially crafted application, take control of an affected system. The update addresses the vulnerability by correcting how the Windows CSRSS handles objects in memory. Is there a fix for this? No, but there are certain things you can do. I have made the following information readily available on our website, pcradioshow.org, so if you don't have a pencil or paper ready to copy down the KB or knowledge base number, just go to our website. If you're running Windows 8.1, there are two patches. One is for the security-only patch, and that is KB 4493467. And the Windows 8.1 monthly roll-up patch is KB 4493446. Now, if you are running Windows 7, the patches are as follows. KB 4493448 is the April Windows 7 security-only patch, and KB 4493472 is the April Windows 7 monthly roll-up patch. The first option is you uninstall the security patch to either Windows 7 or 8.1. And if this does not resolve the problem, then what you should do is uninstall the roll-up patch for either Windows 7 or Windows 8.1. In some cases, it is reported that it was necessary to do a system restore to a point prior to April 2019. And this would essentially remove the Patch Tuesday that was sent out by Microsoft. What is the risk level if the patch was removed? As I had stated, to exploit this vulnerability, an attacker would first have to log on to your system, and an attacker could then run a specially crafted application to take control of an affected system. This seems to be unlikely to happen for most users. All good things must come to an end, and this is a reminder that support for Windows 7 is ending January the 14th, 2020. Microsoft will no longer provide security updates or support for PCs running Windows 7 after that date. Windows 8.1 falls under the same lifecycle policy as Windows 8, which reached end of mainstream support on January 9th of last year and end of extended support on January 10th, 2023. Maybe it's time to upgrade to Windows 10. Microsoft issues important Windows 10 upgrade warning. The Multimedia Card, MMC, is the memory card standard used for solid-state storage in low-end Windows notebook systems. 32GB eMMC has been the standard capacity installed. The eMMC storage card is soldered onto the motherboard, and it is not replaceable. I have such a system with 32GB. I've had to juggle the system to fit the Windows 10 operating system updates in this limited storage. The actual free storage with Windows 10 installed is less than 10 gigabytes. In a new advisory, Microsoft has warned users that they will need up to twice as much free storage on their PCs to receive Windows 10 1903, the upgrade which finally gives all users control over Windows updates. The new requirement will apply to all versions of Windows 10, Home, Pro, and Enterprise. In effect, this method of Windows Update has rendered these low-end systems obsolete. Is it advisable to skip the update? Hell no. The new minimum is 32 gigabytes, double the previous 16 gigabyte stipulation of 32-bit Windows 10 and almost 40% more than the 64-bit editions. For users with modern PCs, this is unlikely to be a problem, but for older PCs or users who consume a lot of storage, this could prove a more problematic hurdle, with some finding that they need to buy a new hard drive and migrate their data. Microsoft's move will open the floodgates to far larger requirements in the near future. Don't be surprised if 64 gigabyte minimum will be needed in the near future. So if you have an older PC or simply don't want to give up additional space, should you just skip Windows 10 1903? The answer is no. So yes, you need Windows 10 1903, and yes, you may have to offload or delete some data or buy some new hardware to get it, but this is an upgrade which is too important to skip. You've been warned. I now have two options at this point. Either select and install a Linux distribution, or try to convert the notebook into a Chromebook. Actually, there's a third option, the doorstop. Google bans one of the biggest Android app developers from the Play Store. Based on a BuzzFeed analysis, several of the most downloaded apps from the Google Play Store may have been caught sharing data they collect with the Chinese government. Google is banning the app developer in question. In addition, Google is removing all apps from the developer, DO Global, that have collectively garnered more than 500 million downloads. These are the apps that have been implicated in BuzzFeed's investigation. If you have any of these installed on your phone, delete them now. Selfie Camera, Total Cleaner, Smart Cooler, RAM Master, AIO Flashlight, Omni Cleaner, Wah Wah Ya Ya, Emoji Flashlight, and Samsung TV Remote Control via PO Technologies Inc. Google had discovered the developer was engaged in an ad fraud and had begun pulling its apps from the store. BuzzFeed reports today that almost 50 apps from the developer have already been removed and the other 50 will be removed. This is not the first app developer to get smacked with a Play Store ban. Not only is DO Global among the biggest, but Baidu has a 34% stake in the company. Baidu is sometimes described as the Google of China. BuzzFeed's early analysis found that the developers were exploiting the Play Store's rules and procedures to hide who they are and to offer apps that aggressively abuse users' permission and commit ad fraud. One of them was a TV remote app that said it might use the microphone in your phone to record sounds while you watch TV, plus a flashlight app that you think would offer pretty cut and dried functionality and yet still ask for lots of dubious permissions. A Google spokesperson stated the following: "We actively investigate malicious behavior, and when we find violations, we take action, including the removal of a developer's ability to monetize the app with AdMob or publish on Play. To get a sense of just how much of a presence DO Global has enjoyed via the Play Store, the company boasts more than 250 million monthly active app users. But the company has apparently taken pains to mask its identity from many of the apps it had in Google's online marketplace. Many of them, according to the reports, list myriad addresses and developer contact details, obscuring their common ownership. In response, DO Global has published a statement apologizing for their actions. In the past week, we have noticed a series of reports about our apps by the media. We fully understand the seriousness of the allegations. As such, we immediately conducted an internal investigation on this matter. We regret to find irregularities in some of our products, use of ad mob advertisements. Given this, we fully understand and accept Google's decision. Moreover, we have actively cooperated with them by doing a thorough examination of every app involved. We would like to thank the media, our partners, and the public for their support. Moving forward, we will strictly follow relevant regulations and continue conducting a comprehensive review of our products. Lastly, during this process, we have caused misunderstanding and great concern due to our being unable to communicate in a timely manner and provide complete information. We offer our sincere apologies. My advice is to avoid all things DO Global and perhaps avoid all things Baidu. Mayor of New York City Bill de Blasio said, "We're going to introduce legislation to ban the classic glass and steel skyscrapers that have contributed so much to global warming. They have no place in our city or our Earth anymore." He later admitted his legislation would actually just tighten the city's energy code to make it prohibitively expensive to develop glassy high-rises. He later clarified it doesn't mean buildings can't use glass anymore. He pointed to the recently erected American Copper building in Murray Hill, a K-shaped structure clad in copper and glass, as an example of a structure that would still be acceptable. De Blasio cited unspecified buildings in the Hudson Yards development as examples of the wrong way to do things. Hudson Yard developer-related companies later hit back by pointing out that it just opened a glass office building that is certified LEED Platinum. The U.S. Green Building Council's highest designation is one of New York's most energy-efficient Class A office towers. LEED is a global industry rating standard. It includes a set of rating systems for the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of green buildings, homes, and neighborhoods that aims to help building owners and operators be environmentally responsible and use resources efficiently. There are 100 possible base points distributed across 6 credit categories: sustainable sites, water efficiency, energy and atmosphere, materials and resources, indoor environmental quality, and innovation in design. Up to 10 additional points may be earned. 4 additional points may be received for regional priority credits, and 6 additional points for innovation in design, which includes exemplary performance credits for existing credit categories. What are the certification levels? Buildings can qualify for 4 levels of certification. Just certification itself, 40 to 49 points. Silver, 50 to 59 points. Gold, 60 to 79 points. And platinum, the highest, 80 points and above. Last week, the City Council passed a bill to slap strict greenhouse emission caps on private buildings exceeding 25,000 square feet by forcing them to retrofit pipes, heating systems, lights, and other utilities by 2024 or face big fines. In New York, this is by half the buildings. The Bank of America Tower on 42nd Street, for example, is certified LEED Platinum, but the developer, the Durst organization, calculated it would still face $2.5 million in fines under the new bill when 2024 rolls around, and the fine will escalate annually from there. Critics say the new measures are unrealistic. There likely aren't enough contractors to get all 50,000 affected buildings up to code in time, and the pie in the sky targets will just turn business away from the Big Apple. Meanwhile, smaller buildings, hospitals, and New York City Housing Authority complexes and affordable housing won't be subject to the same rules. The law doesn't take into account what the building does. Tech and media are energy intensive. You're going to have an owner who will think twice on who they rent out to avoid fines. The mayor's goal is to reduce emissions by 40% by 2030. Ordaining it to happen doesn't mean it will happen. He was re-elected in 2017, and he's term limited in 2021. He won't be around in 2030. Can it be done? Sure. Just have all the businesses move out of the city. From an economic feasibility point of view, it would be cheaper to do business somewhere else. Marty, how realistic is this legislation? Give me your 2 cents.
Over the next, 10 years or so, New York Mayor de Blasio wants to cut skyscraper offenses to its energy profile by 40%. And Hank said, hey, Marty, what do you think? Is it reasonable? Can that happen? And the answer is, yeah, it can happen. Maybe not quite the way he's described it. I can tell everybody here from my own experience, the best way to reduce energy consumption is to cut losses. And I mean the losses that happen because they just are allowed to happen. It involves reinforcing insulation. It involves cutting the air paths short of allowing the building to breathe. It involves smarter use of the resources we have. Can you cut it 40%? Yes. In fact, you can cut it to 40%. It's going to take attention to these things. It's not going to be inexpensive. Is it reasonable? Is it realistic? Well, I think that depends in part on how soon and if it gets passed, and if it does get passed, on whether or not Mayor de Blasio is still in office during the course of those 10 or 11 years to make sure that everything happens the way he has mandated or dictated or at least orated. You want to reduce emissions, you reduce emissions by reducing waste. You want to reduce emissions of the building itself, there are many, many sciences that can support that. You want to reduce emissions within a building, that's going to happen anyway. All of the electronics are improving in their energy profiles. The biggest offender is not the computer systems, although those are pretty big, but the displays. Displays are getting much more energy efficient because that's being driven by TV sets. The computers themselves are also getting more energy efficient, and that's being driven by electric bills and also a lot of downsizing. Today's microprocessors are more efficient. Today's memory can be more efficient. And the blend of making more happen in places other than right at the point of work also increases the number of computers that can be supported on a limited amount of electricity. So if you ask me, can it happen? I'm saying, yeah, it can. Will it be expensive? Yes, I'm saying yes, it will be expensive. It will be costly. Those services, their prices, all of that's going to go up. Rents are going to go up, all as a result of saving energy. Saving energy is a good thing. Saving energy should happen. Can it? Will it? Is this the way? Well, those are questions I'm going to let you guys decide. Personally, I might take it a slightly different path.
Gone are the days when part-time work or side hustles were frowned upon. The gig economy is here to stay, for better or for worse. Gig is a slang for a live musical performance, originally coined in the 1920s by jazz musicians. The term, short for the word engagement, now refers to any aspect of performing such as assisting with performance and attending musical performance. Why is it called the gig economy? The gig economy gets its name from each piece of work being akin to an individual gig, although such work can fall under multiple names. Gig economy workers can also work for more traditional companies which have changed how the staffing system operates. The modern gig economy is all about outsourcing specific tasks to freelancers or independent contractors. These gigs are mostly on a short-term basis. They are usually tasks that can be worked at from your home or office or anywhere from a computer. Stuff like writing, editing, proofreading, software development, and programming falls into this category. Now it's reported that the feds have issued a rule that one company's gig workers are contractors. It's a question that cuts to the heart of the way tech giants like Uber and Lyft do business. Are gig economy workers really just contractors, or should they be classified and compensated as employees? On Monday, the U.S. Department of Labor hinted at an answer, writing in a letter to one gig economy company that its workers are, in fact, independent contractors. The letter came in response to an inquiry by a single unnamed company that sought the department's advice on whether its workers could fairly be considered contractors under the law. The opinion issued Monday applies only to the company addressed in the letter and isn't legally binding. As reported by the Wall Street Journal, the headline is, U.S. says gig workers are not employees. The Labor Department says gig economy workers who find jobs through online platforms are not entitled to protection under the Fair Labor Standards Act. The federal department confirmed its decision in a letter stating that workers who get jobs on platforms like Handy or TaskRabbit are contractors rather than employees of the company, and while the letter isn't binding, it provides guidance as to how it would interpret the law. So instead of relying on analysis from the news media, let's look at the actual news release from the U.S. Department of Labor. It reads as follows. U.S. Department of Labor issues new wage and hour opinion letter, concludes service providers for a virtual marketplace company are independent contractors. The U.S. Department of Labor announced today that it has issued a new opinion letter that addresses compliance issues related to the Fair Labor Standards Act, which is FLSA. An opinion letter is an official written opinion by the department's Wage and Hours Division, that's WHD, on how a particular law applies in specific circumstances represented by the individual person or entity that requested the letter. The opinion letter issued today is addressing whether a service provider for a virtual marketplace company is an employee of the company or an independent contractor under the FLSA. This letter responds to a request on behalf of a particular virtual marketplace company. It concludes that the workers who provide services to the consumers through this specific company's virtual platform are independent contractors, not employees of the company. To make this determination, WHD applied its long-standing and unchanged six-factor balancing test derived from Supreme Court precedent. The nature and degree of potential employer's control, the permanency of the worker's relationship with the potential employer, the amount of workers' investment in facilities, equipment, or helpers, the amount of skill, initiative, judgment, or foresight required for the worker's services, the worker's opportunities for profit or loss, and the extent of integration of the worker's services into the potential employer's business. An important role of the U.S. Department of Labor is to ensure that employers who want to do the right thing have clear compliance assistance, says the acting administrator of the department's Wage and Hourly Division. Today, the U.S. Department of Labor offers further insight into the nexus of current labor law and innovations in the job market. The department offers a search function allowing users to search existing opinion letters by keyword, year, topic, and a variety of other filters, and encourages the public to submit requests for opinion letters to WHD to obtain an opinion or determine whether existing guidance already addresses their questions. The division exercises its discretion in determining whether and how it will respond to each request. That was published by the Department of Labor. Labor advocates, however, view the letter as a blow to contract workers who they say are being denied benefits and protection that they're entitled to, including minimum wage and overtime pay. The department refers to the company as a virtual marketplace that connects service providers with consumers. To determine how to classify workers at the company, the department analyzed 6 aspects of the business. First, it considered how much control the employer has over workers, because the business doesn't control workers' shifts, quotas, or hours, and gives them flexibility to work for competitors. The department concluded the workers are more akin to contractors. The letter also asserts that because the business doesn't inspect people's work or rate their performance, the workers are in fact in business for themselves. Next, the department assessed the workers' permanency and found that they appeared to maintain a high degree of freedom to exit the working relationship, another indication of a contractor relationship. The department also concluded that workers paid for their own facilities and equipment, and the department notes that the workers rely on the software the company builds, but that reliance only marginally decreases their relative independence because they can use similar software on competitors' platforms. Two other considerations included how much skill the work requires and the worker's potential for profit and loss. The department said it didn't have any information on the worker's skill in this case, but the fact that workers could negotiate their own pricing and accept or reject work across a number of competitors were all indications that the workers, not the company, controlled profits and losses. Finally, the department looked into how integrated into the business the workers' services are. In this case, the department found that the business is merely a referral service where workers and consumers can connect. That means in the department's eyes, the services the workers performs, whether giving someone a ride or cleaning their home, are a separate business. So, is the gig economy good for us? The truth is, the gig economy has allowed people who may not be able to find full-time employment an opportunity to earn money. In some ways, this is beneficial. For example, earning supplemental income to help guarantee a healthy retirement is a good thing. Right now, more than 1 in 3 workers are freelancers. Of the freelancers who are over 55, 49% are using supplemental gig work to help fund their eventual retirement. This contributes to the overall growth of the gig economy. But the news isn't all good. Overall, 40% of freelance workers worry that they will not be able to retire comfortably, yet they are not giving up on their vocation. The dirty little secret that is prevalent in the job market is ageism. Eventually, if you live to be at least 50 years of age, everyone is affected by this. Yet there is no politician addressing this form of discrimination. According to a new national AARP survey of adults over the age of 45, 61% of respondents says they have either seen or experienced age discrimination in the workplace, while 38% of those believe the practice is very common. Of those surveyed, older women, African Americans, Hispanics, and those who are currently unemployed say they are more likely to feel prejudicial treatment. While employment trends for older people are favorable, with 28% of 55-plus workers suffering long-term unemployment compared to 18% of those 16 to 54 in age. The long-term unemployment disparity suggests that entrenched age bias still exists too often in the workplace. According to government data, workforce participation rates for older workers today exceeds participation before the Great Recession, while younger worker participation is below pre-recession numbers. By 2022, AARP says that nearly 35% of workers will be age 50 or older. Still, according to workers, there is a need to strengthen laws surrounding age discrimination that was enacted in 1967. More than 90% of older Americans surveyed said they would support strengthening the laws, with 59% saying that they would strongly support a change, while 30% say they somewhat agree with laws being changed. And more than half of older workers who have either seen or experienced the unjust treatment at their jobs say they believe it starts when workers are in their 50s. For about 1/4 of those, age discrimination is described as hearing negative remarks related to their older age from a colleague or supervisor, while 16% cited not getting hired for a job they applied for because of their age. Meanwhile, 12% said age was the reason why they were overlooked by an employer for a promotion or another chance to get ahead. Yet, despite these concerns, only 3% have ever made an official complaint about it to superiors or human resources. But AARP says given the current job climate, many experienced workers have the opportunity to be judged on their merits rather than their age. With rich work histories, varied experiences, and expertise, older workers want to work. They're ready to work. They need to work. AARP launched an employer pledge for companies who hire workers on ability regardless of age. Over the last 5 years, 650 employers have signed up on this pledge. Hey, wait a minute. How many companies are listed in the U.S. stock market? Approximately 18,500. Less than 4,000 companies are in the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, and there's another 15,000 companies that are traded over the counter in the United States. And they've only got pledges from 650 employers from 19,000 big corporations? They got to do better than that. Listener RS asked the question, the best cheap smart bulbs, does it matter which one you buy? Hey Marty, you can answer this better than I can.
Of course, yes, it matters, at least a little. Let's approach it as a process of elimination. If it isn't compatible with the home automation platform you already use, do you really want to add a whole other platform? If it doesn't fit in your fixture or your lampshade, and many won't, that's another stopper. Then there's the question of why you're really considering it at all. Is it really that important to give up the cost of a good bottle of wine just to have one more light bulb do tricks for you? It is? Then double-check the specs they don't put up front. Like whether its life expectancy is too short, or whether its light intensity, that lumens rating, is compromised, or whether the light quality, the CRI rating, might be just a little on the ugly side. If you're adding a smart light bulb because it can truly contribute to your home, more power to you and make your best choice. But if you're adding it just to show off your home automation system, spending on a smart light bulb can make you look less than smart. And in some applications, you might be better off looking into a smart light switch instead. And it doesn't need to be part of a home automation platform. You may have needs that a simple motion sensor or timer can fulfill. At least that's my 2 cents. See ya.
Benjamin Rockwell presenting the IT Pro Series, Tech Support 2 of 5. Take it away, Benjamin.
This is Benjamin Rockwell. I've been an IT professional for, okay, well, you don't want me to start counting. This is part 2 in a 5-part series on technical support and working it better to your advantage. Now, I've spent years calling technical support. I've spent years on hold with technical support. I've spent years helping people, helping callers as technical support. So even now, I answer calls regularly. Now, last week, I named off the characters. This week, we're talking about before the call, preparing for the call, getting you in the position where you're going to make your best technical support request. You should write this down as a checklist. You should keep this handy. First, have the specifics of your computer problem documented out. I want to see specific error messages. I want to hear that you are writing down that problems are occurring because of this and so forth. You want to document the problem carefully so that the person on the other end of the phone can solve it as quickly as they can. They are measured by how fast they solve your problem. They are measured by how many calls that they handle every day. They get into trouble and they get penalized if they take too long with you or too long with everybody and so forth. So if they have to wait for you, they're going to be less enthusiastic about helping you. Now, we're going to note down everything that you've done already. You want to use an appropriate amount of detail so that you might prepare them if you're asked to. You need to document your item's make, model, serial number. There may be a service tag number there, and you want to have that ready to give them rather than you hunting for it. Again, make, a Hewlett-Packard, model, so it's an NV, 750, whatever it is, okay? So there's your model. You're making your model, the serial number, 1234567, and then the service tag number, ABC123XY, whatever it is, and you have all of that ready. I want you to document this if you have a reason for urgency. You want it down there. But it needs to be legitimate. I don't want you to make up things for your urgency, but you want to at least be able to verbalize this, to note it down in writing, because if you are reading it off, if you're telling them this, it's a lot better than you coming along and you're going, I've got to have this done right now because my boss is going to kill me, and then you're overreacting. A lot of what we're going to be dealing with next week is the call, and I want you to stay calm throughout the entire thing. You're going to list on this sheet, whether you want to call it a cheat sheet or whatever it is, you're going to list down the specific date of this call. And we'll go on in a few minutes to note the time. You'll also want to document the technical support number that you're calling, as well as each digit that you've entered afterwards, so that you can speed things along. This IVR, interactive voice response, is a killer. But if you have the shortcuts noted, when you call back tomorrow or the next day, you'll actually be through it in no time at all. Have this paper and extra paper handy by your side. Make sure you've got a pen, pencil, whatever. The first page, the cheat sheet, the following pages, whatever you need to write down. Next. And this gets a little bit crazy. You don't think about this. Please, by all means, you're going to use the restroom. You're going to take 2 minutes as well to calm down. You're going to relax. I like to say a prayer, not only for the computer, but for the technician on the other end of the phone. This, for me, is about being in the right frame of mind. It's about keeping my frustrations in check. It's about my focusing on the goal, and it's about my focusing on being nice. I want you to prepare to empathize with the technical support. For some people, it's really hard to do, but you have to put yourself there. You need to understand that your call is going off to a far-off land frequently. It's going across the country. It's going to wherever else. It's going to people who are dealing with many calls that are similar to yours. They're working on getting through each call quickly and moving on to the next one, or they're going to get into trouble. There's all kinds of pressure on them, and they have their own issues in life that they're dealing with. You may have called 4 times before, but if you have to give the person on the other end a call, I want you to also give them a chance to fix the problem, for them to be able to escalate to someone else without you being irate. These folks you're dealing with are the grunts, the front lines, and usually they can only do a couple of things. They can fix your call from a script, or they can move it along. They can escalate it. Still, if you've already done a particular task, you might be able to ask them to skip this instead of repeating it. Escalation is fine, but if you're not calm and forgiving at this stage, you may be escalated to the bruiser rather than the solutions expert. Remember what I said last week? The bruiser deals with the hard cases, and he's equally hard back. One more thing. I want you to pour yourself a cup of tea. Maybe it's a big mug of tea. I'm saying chamomile tea, an herbal tea, non-caffeinated, something mild. Not coffee, not soda, no caffeine, nothing that's going to get you riled up. And that is all about preparing for the call. Next week, we'll be talking about actually making that call. This is Benjamin Rockwell. Back to you, Hank.
Thank you, Benjamin. The REAL ID Act was passed by Congress in 2005. The REAL ID Act establishes minimum security standards for state-issued driver licenses, permits, and ID cards. The Act also prohibits federal agencies like the TSA from accepting cards for official purposes from states that do not meet these standards. Well, what is the REAL ID card? Beginning on October 1st, 2020, the federal government will require your driver license, permit, or ID card to be REAL ID compliant if you wish to use it as identification aboard a domestic flight that's within the United States or enter military bases and certain federal facilities. Enhanced driver license, permit, or non-driver ID and valid U.S. passports are already Real ID compliant and can be used to board a flight. An enhanced ID can also be used to enter the United States by land or sea from Canada, Mexico, and some Caribbean countries. Enhanced driver's licenses are available to U.S. citizens who reside in the states of Michigan, Minnesota, New York, Vermont, and Washington. Enhanced driver's licenses are available to Canadian citizens residing in British Columbia, Manitoba, Ontario, and formerly Quebec. The Real ID has a round black dot in the upper right-hand corner with a white 5-pointed star inside the circle. It is located in the upper right-hand corner of the driver license, permit, or non-driver ID. The enhanced Real ID has the flag of the United States located at the bottom right-hand corner of the driver license, permit, or the non-driver ID. If you want more information on what Real ID is, visit the website dhs.gov. The New York State DMV began issuing Real ID licenses, permits, and ID cards on October the 30th in 2017. You can get a Real ID at any time, but you need to go to a DMV office. You cannot get a Real ID online, by phone, or through mail. You must bring to the office the following original or certified proof documents. The proof of identity, such as the valid license, birth certificate, or passport with your full first, middle, if it's applicable, and last name. This name, as it appears on your proof of identity, will be displayed on your card as required by federal law. Next, proof of Social Security number or Social Security number ineligibility. If you have a valid New York license, permit, or ID card, you must bring your original Social Security card or W-2 with full SSN on it. If you don't have a New York State driver license or ID card, you must bring your Social Security card or a letter from the Social Security Administration proving your ineligibility to have a Social Security number. If you lost your Social Security card, you must get a duplicate before you come to the DMV. The Social Security Administration website has more information on obtaining a duplicate card. Next, you have to bring in proof of your date of birth. And next, the proof of U.S. citizenship, lawful permanent residency, or temporary lawful status in the United States. You also will need 2 different proofs of New York State residence, such as a utility bill, bank statement, or mortgage statement. P.O. box numbers are not acceptable. This address will be displayed on your card. If the name on your license, permit, or non-driver ID application does not match the name on your identity, lawful status, and Social Security proof, you must bring in court or government-issued proofs documenting the events causing your name changes, such as a marriage license, divorce decree, adoption, or court order documents. The application process also requires the DMV to take a new photo. So, what is the cost for a Real ID? There is no additional cost to get a Real ID. All normal transaction fees still apply. If you want to apply for an enhancement driver license or enhancement ID card, there is an additional $30 fee. Getting a Real ID is not mandatory, but it is encouraged. A Real ID is optional and is not needed for the following: being licensed to drive, voting or registering to vote, entering federal facilities that do not require a person to present identification, applying for or receiving federal benefits, accessing health or life-preserving services, including hospitals and health clinics, law enforcement or constitutionality-protected activities, including a defendant's access to court proceedings, and participating in law enforcement proceedings or investigations. If you decide you do not want a Real ID or enhanced document, please be advised that any license, permit, or ID card issued after October the 30th, 2017 will be marked not for federal purposes. If you have a U.S. passport, it can be used for identification, boarding a plane for domestic and information flights, and entry into federal building or military base. And what if you're under 18 years of age? TSA does not require or presently require children under 18 years of age to provide identification when traveling with a companion with the United States. The companion will need acceptable identification. Visit tsa.gov for more information. In all likelihood, the requirement for a real ID as defined by the federal government will be subject to the slippery slope argument, in which it is just a first step which will lead to a more universal usage. You remember the Social Security number was not to be used for identification? We hear now from Marty Winston on the most private room in a home.
It's very rare to see a toilet that can't outlive the person who bought it. And that's been true for more than a century. It's much more commonplace for the building that it's in to come down. So people rarely think about replacing toilets. Not that they shouldn't. Hey, you can skip all the puns and jokes about toilets that are crossing your mind right now. I already thought of them and crossed them off my list. Toilets are seldom the subject of polite conversation. But that's exactly where we're headed in this segment. I'm going to go over, in the most genteel language that I can muster, reasons you may want to think about replacing the toilet you have now. And I'm really not much talking about the mechanism inside. You can get parts for those, or whole kits. And lots of people can readily replace that stuff themselves. In fact, only a couple of my points have to do with the toilets themselves. Most of what I wanted to get you thinking about involves people. You'll see. Do you own a plunger? How often do you have to use it? If your drains and sewers are clear, well, there's a question. They may not be if a toilet tends to back up a lot. Check that with a plumber. But if those drains are clear and you do have to use a plunger more often than you'd like, then you may have the wrong kind of toilet. That can happen. The toilet you have may be exhibiting some, shall we say, incompatibility between what it's being asked to handle and the design limitations on what it's able to handle. I'm going to mention two brands that I found to be better at handling more cargo than others. One is Kohler, and the other is Toto. Look them up. My experience is that I can count on their products to, well, shall we say, swallow more than other brands. Understand, it's entirely possible that other brands may offer some kinds of toilets that perform better. I only have my experience with the specific models of theirs that I've used, but toilets are too costly to depend on trial and error, especially when product returns are awkward to the point of unlikely. I mean, really, I wouldn't want to deal with that. So, of course, you want a toilet that will just send everything down the first time you try and won't back up. Even in poker, a straight flush beats a full house. Which leads me to a different kind of hand you may have been dealt. Are you still a teenager? Still in your 20s, your 30s? You have more than half of your life left. Are your knees still strong? Have you noticed that among people you know who are in their middle-age years or older, that they're not as agile as your younger pals at the transition between standing up and sitting down, or standing up after sitting down? If you've ever been to an elementary school open house and had to sit on one of those low-to-the-ground little kids' chairs, you may remember how awkward it is to get into and out of them. And the same thing is true of toilets. Look around stores that sell toilets. You'll see low-rise models and high-rise models. Low-rise models are great for smaller children, but other than a kid's bathroom, if you're buying toilets as part of what's in a new house, or if you're serious about replacing your toilets, even if you're a teenager, get a high-rise. None of us is young forever. Even now, a high-rise is easier on your knees and your thighs, and you'll notice the difference very soon after you change to that loftier elevation. Get a little older, or hey, a lot older, and a low-rise may be next to impossible to climb out of and possibly painful to get into. The time will come when you simply can't do without an altitude adjustment. But that isn't all, especially for men, and I should say to a lesser degree, it could also be an issue for women. Guys, when you're younger and you aim for the bowl, you may sometimes miss, but mostly you hit it. Get a little older, and you may find yourself standing closer or even straddling it a little to get everything into the bowl and save yourself the chore of grabbing some bathroom tissue to wipe off the rim. A little older still, and it may seem like the liquid is defying the rules of fluidics and even going backwards. I just asked my doctor about it for real and got a very logical explanation. There are a lot of parts of the body that lose some of their elasticity with age, like that thing in the back of your mouth that now makes you snore even if you never did before. The same factors also affect the last inch of your delivery system as you stand by the toilet. It's like pinching a hose or the end of a soda straw. What once flowed like a fountain may sometimes come out in a spray, or at least enough of a spray to send those odd droplets hither and yon. And there's a cure for that. Not one for you, sorry, but one in your choice of toilets. It's an elongated front. Take a bowl that's higher off the ground and elongate its front, and it's something like pitching in the World Series and getting the size of the strike zone doubled. Where the score is counted in bowl versus rim, you'll see a lot more no-hitters. Toilet seats also offer an option that your roommate will appreciate. A soft drop. To eliminate that big bang when you're closing the lid, the one that keeps you awake, not because it banged, but because it woke up your roommate who insists on giving you a half-hour lecture when you'd rather just go back to sleep. By the way, speaking of toilet seats, do you know what they call a guy who never puts the toilet seat down? A newlywed. One more feature you may want to consider, especially as you age into your senior era, a bidet. Even if you used nothing but paper your entire life, as you get older, the bending over may become increasingly challenging. If your vision degrades, it may be more difficult to know that you're not leaving the job half done. Both of those issues wash away when you use a bidet. Modern toilets offer many options there, and again, I encourage you to investigate them. Next time, I'll talk about ways your walls can do more than just border a room, especially if it's a noisy room, or one that you want to prevent being noisy. I have both. But I know how to take care of that, and you can find out more next time.
Thank you, Marty. Public service announcements. Computer Club meetings in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state region. The computer clubs have random access sessions at each of these club meetings. If you have any questions or need for technical advice, the club members are more than happy to assist. There is no such thing as a dumb question. The Westchester PC Users Group is meeting Thursday, May the 2nd. Meeting time is 7 p.m. Keller Williams Realty, 120 Bloomingdale Road in White Plains, New York. Amateur Computer Group of New Jersey has a meeting on Friday, May 3rd. Meeting time is 8 p.m., and they meet at the Scotch Plains Rescue Squad, 1916 Bartle Avenue, in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Danbury Area Computer Society has their meeting on Tuesday, May the 7th. Meeting time is 7:30 p.m., and they meet at the Danbury Hackerspace, 158 Main Street in Danbury, Connecticut. The New York Amateur Computer Club will have a presentation on the computer printer in the Paperless Society. Thursday, May 9th. Meeting time is 7 p.m. at NYU, 32 Waverly Place, Silver Building in Manhattan, New York. Long Island Macintosh Users Group meet on Friday, May the 10th. Meeting time is 7 p.m., and they meet at the Harry J. Scher Hall, New York Institute of Technology, Old Westbury Campus in Old Westbury, New York. Computer Learning Center of Ewing has a presentation on Apple seeds and Apple devices. They meet on Tuesday, May the 14th. Meeting time is 2 p.m., and they meet at the Ewing Senior and Community Center at 999 Lower Ferry Road in Ewing, New Jersey. The King's Bite Computer Club meets Tuesday, May the 14th. Meeting time is 7 p.m., and they meet at the Park Plaza Restaurant, 220 Cadman Plaza West, Brooklyn, New York. The Brookdale Computer Users Group has a presentation on a look back at the club's history and a personal journey. Thursday, May the 23rd, in the Middletown Library Large Meeting Room, 55 New Monmouth Road, Middletown, New Jersey. Princeton PC User Group will have their meeting on Tuesday, May the 28th. Meeting time is 7 p.m., at the Mercer County Library in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. If you have a computer club meeting you want me to announce on the air, send me a note. My address is hank@pcradioshow.org. Our website is pcradioshow.org. We can be heard each Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on prn.fm, on the Internet, and podcasts are available from all major pod hosting sites, as well as on our website, pcradioshow.org. If you have any questions for us or commentary on any of our feature segments, just send us your email address with your telephone number, in which we can call you at a convenient hour for playback on the program. If you have any questions for us, just send us an email addressed to hank@pcradioshow.org. There is no such thing as a stupid question. In the meantime, stay in touch and keep on computing, and remember to back up. I'm Hank Key, and on behalf of Joe King and Michael Horowitz, we thank you for listening. Stay safe and healthy until we meet again, same time, same station next week.